stop is Melbourne Central Station, Swanston Streets. Change here for tram routes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 4th of October 2023. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon in Melbourne, and it's quite wet outside. I'm on E-Class tram number 1697, which is the fourth youngest tram in the fleet at the moment. And we're heading west on Trobe Street on Route 30. In this video we're going to take a bit of a stroll through the Melbourne CBD. Normally I make these videos on days with really nice weather, but I thought it'd be fun to do something a bit different and do one in wet weather. I really enjoy hanging around in the city when it's raining, because rain doesn't really bother me that much. I quite enjoy walking in the rain, and I really enjoy watching everybody else really not enjoying it. They all sort of scuttle around desperately trying to find shelter. And I think that adds to the sort of exciting chaos that the CBD is all about. If you haven't joined me on one of these videos before, this is where we go for a bit of a walk in real time, and I make a few comments about what we see along the way. Maybe we'll see some interesting things. We'll see definitely a lot of trams and a few trains. And the idea is to just create a bit of a snapshot of what the city was like at this particular time, on this particular day. So we've just hopped off at the stop at the corner of Trobe and Swanston Street, which as you can see is a very narrow tram stop, and not a lot of space to stand. Trobe Street is kind of the forgotten east-west street in the CBD. It's pretty quiet compared to the other east-west streets, but it doesn't have proper platform stops yet. They have been funded and will be appearing in the future, I believe, but at the moment it's still got pretty minimalist stops. So we're outside Melbourne Central. This is Swanston Street. It is on the busiest tram corridor in the world, with tram routes 1, 3, 5, 6, 16, 64, 67, 72. I think I got that right. See a Z-Class heading north there. And the B. You can see the hook turn lane there, just at the rear of that tram. So I should say, Melbourne kind of has this reputation for bad weather, and a lot of people, particularly our good friends up in our arch rival city of Sydney, like to grill us about it raining here all the time. However, the correct stereotype is that Melbourne's weather is very changeable. It's not actually that wet most of the time. In fact, I looked this up just for this, and Melbourne's annual average rainfall is about 650 mil, which is just over half of Sydney's annual average rainfall. So yes, there's actually twice as much water comes out of the sky each year in Sydney as it does in Melbourne. We're now walking down Trobe Street towards Elizabeth Street. There isn't going to be much happening on this little stretch here, but we will shortly get to Elizabeth Street, where there'll be a lot more happening. Gonna hop out onto this traffic island here so we can get a good view. You can see a W8 class coming on the city circle. And that's W8 class number 888, which I seem to recall is the one that we went on a ride on back in the first episode in this series. As usual, somebody in a large expensive car is blocking all the traffic there. So here we are at Elizabeth Street, which is another pretty busy tram street. It has routes 19, 57 and 59 on it. You might have noticed this already, but my umbrella isn't particularly healthy. I didn't realise how bad it was before I took it out on this day, and you might notice I'm having a bit of trouble keeping it up, and it is also tearing away at one of the corners. This was this umbrella's final run in service. It was disposed of after this day. But, you know, if you sign up to the Patreon, maybe I'll be able to afford a new umbrella one day. So say D-class there, big 5-section Combino. Apart from the D2 class on Route 19, Elizabeth Street is entirely high-floor trams at the moment. That will change in the next few years though, because the brand new G-class trams will be starting out here on the 57 and 59 when they're first introduced. So one thing about Elizabeth Street is that it runs along a bit of a valley and downhill towards Flinders Street and the Yarra. And that means that before we went and plonked a big city here, it was a creek or a river. And that creek still exists as a drain underneath the street. And sometimes when there's really heavy rain, the creek does try to get revenge and return to surface level along here. Hasn't happened in quite a long time, but if you Google the 1972 Elizabeth Street flood, you'll see exactly what I mean. I'm just going to be wiping the camera lens occasionally to try and get the droplets off it. It is waterproof, but it makes it a bit hard to see. We're just coming up to Lonsdale Street here, which is probably the most boring street in the city, but it does have quite a lot of bus routes running along it. That building on the right, on the corner over there, used to be Michael's Camera Store, which was a very famous Melbourne camera store that existed for a very long time, and only just closed a couple of years ago. And this is actually the start. That whole next block on the right there is the sort of photography retail district of Melbourne. It's quite unusual. We have a series of large photography stores, camera stores over there. One of them is my former employer, so I spent a little bit of time working on that strip. But there's There used to be Michael's, there's JB Hi-Fi, which has a camera section, there's Ted's Cameras, there's DigiDirect. Used to be Camera House. I think DigiDirect replaced Camera House over there. That's the old Michael's building there, which still says Michael's up the top. So if you like looking at pictures of trains and trams from Melbourne, there's a good chance the cameras they were taken on came out of one of those shops over there. It's JB Hi-Fi and Ted's, which are confusingly the same colour, and it's always a bit of a problem, customers walking into the wrong one. And then that orange and black store on the corner on the right over there is DigiDirect, which is where Camera House used to be. This is Little Bourke Street. It's like Bourke Street, but little. Just going to walk up here under the shelter of the old General Post Office building here.
Longer. I feel like I can
So here we are coming up to Bourke Street with routes 86 and 96, and we've got Bourke Street Mall on the left there. And there is the beautiful Lake Bourke Street. That's a P-plater and an Audi there demonstrating how not to do a hook turn. You're supposed to wait until the lights go green in your direction of travel before you start moving. You can now see the Flinders Street station building right down the end of the street with the Elizabeth Street clock tower. And we're just approaching Collins Street, which is the second busiest tram street in the CBD with routes 11, 12, 48 and 109. that E-Class is moving cautiously because there's a car that's not quite clearing the tramway just up there. That is D2 class leader number 5001 in a special livery. So this is Flinders Lane, and we're now approaching the Elizabeth Street tram terminus, which has two platforms. You can fit one long tram and one short tram on either side, so you can see there's currently a couple of D2s down there, and that Z-Class is coming in on top. The eastern side of the street that we're heading over to on the left here is pedestrianised. Yeah, it's a little bit of a half-assed job, but it's a good start. This tram stop is ridiculously narrow, desperately needs to be widened. Tram drivers often don't get much of a break here. They often have to reverse direction and head back north almost immediately. Those of you that watch RM Transit, and it is most of you, will probably recognise this shot. straight ahead you can just see a Comeng rolling into probably platform 4 or 5, Flinders Street. So you can see a couple of B-class running past on Flinders Street, which carries the route 70, 75, and this is the other side of the city circle. The intersection here is what's known as a scramble crossing, where the lights go green for pedestrians in all directions all at once, so you can actually walk straight through the middle of it diagonally, which is really cool. There is actually a proposal for the Elizabeth Street tram line to be connected into Flinders Street and turn left here. So this area will probably change a bit in the next few years. There's a W class coming on the city circle, and another, in fact that is 888, that is the same W class we saw back at Trobe Street, which has come all the way around. And we've met up with it again. Now, an interesting thing that I know because I'm talking in the future from when this video was filmed, is that at the end of October, a few weeks after this video was filmed, the city circle was cut back to only run in the clockwise direction around the CBD. So the anti-clockwise direction doesn't run anymore, just that tram on the left. So the sight of two W classes passing each other here is actually already gone since I filmed this video. Now we're going to walk over into Flinders Street. Actually, I'm going to go straight up onto platform 1, if I can get past all these people. It used to be that there was no way down into the underpass from here, but a couple of years ago they opened one up, and it's this really weird route which I will show you. So you go down here, and it sort of looks like you're walking into the toilets because it actually is kind of next to the toilets. But it is a legitimate pedestrian route through the toilet area into the main Elizabeth Street underpass, which has this annoying feature where there's a fence down the middle because it's a paid area on the left, within the Mikey barriers, and on the right hand side of that wall is a free area for people who just need to walk under the station. Go up onto platforms 4 and 5. Which is normally the Northern Group platforms. You do sometimes get some Burnley Group trains off here as well. There's HCMT over there. HCMT set number 41, which will be on a Craigieburn or Pakenham train. Looking in this direction over towards the building, you'll pretty much only see extrapolis trains because they run all the services on the Clifton Hill and Burnley groups, which all run off those platforms. Whereas if we look in the other direction over towards the river, we'll see a much wider variety of trains. And we're going to get on this Comeng, which is heading to Craigieburn. Comeng car 588M, it's been in service since 1985. So that's it. Thanks very much for coming along. If you've enjoyed this kind of slow-paced, real-time video, I do have a few others that I've done in a similar sort of style. You can check them out in the playlist, which I will put down below and will hopefully pop up on the screen if that feature is working today. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you'd like to throw a bit more support behind the channel, I do have a Patreon as well, which you can check out. So yeah, thanks very much for watching.
This is a service to Craigieburn, stopping all stations